So it's time for another basic beer review, and we thought we'd do an alcohol-free basic beer review today. So and why not start at the very bottom? And I am talking the bottom. We're starting with Carlsberg alcohol-free. Now I have had lots of alcohol-free beers before. Not a massive fan of them. I won't lie. Most of the ones I've had, I generally don't get really posh craft ones though. Mainly supermarket. So people, alcohol-free beer connoisseurs might say, well, you need to get the proper stuff to taste them. But as far as I'm concerned, we'll see what we can get in the supermarket. Now, obviously, this is it's Carlsberg. Let's face it, it's ridiculously cheap. But to be honest, I was really impressed with alcohol-free Stella, which I wouldn't drink the normal stuff. If you paid me, really. But the alcohol-free Stella I thought was pretty good for alcohol-free lager standards. So let's have a go at this alcohol-free Carlsberg. It was four bottles for £2.50. So just like with the Galahad, I thought, you know what? How bad can it be? So let's crack it open and let's have a little think. So as I say, I've had a few alcohol-free beers before, and they're they're not really my cup of tea, really. I won't mind them as a midweek drink. They are something that is kind of like beer-like, if you want a little bit of a beer-like feel. If you're driving or midweek or whatever, then basically, some alcohol-free beers do hit the spot in that kind of realm. But at the end of the day, it's like I've never had an alcohol-free beer yet which is anywhere near as good as a nice beer with alcohol in it. I mean, I've had alcohol-free beers that are better than Carlsberg, normal Carlsberg. I've had alcohol-free beers that are better than Foster's. I've had alcohol-free beers that are better than Bodies, that are nicer than that. But at the end of the day, if I get an alcohol-free, craft beer or whatever, I'm expecting it to be as nice as, a normal craft beer. Anyway, this is alcohol-free Carlsberg. I think it would struggle to be worse than the real thing. So we'll have a go. We'll pour it and we'll have a see if it's any good. Because at the end of the day, at 4 bottles for £2.75, I'm not really expecting a huge amount. But what I am looking for is something that I could possibly drink during the week if I'm having a good week, where I'm not being too naughty, or if I'm basically going out in a car and I don't want to drink any beer, obviously. Is this any good? Well, let's have a see. So I just kind of waffled a bit there. Let's give it a nose. So on the nose, it starts smelling a bit hoppy. It smells a bit lemony. It's not, though, smelling particularly alcohol-free. Now, alcohol-free lagers particularly have this kind of really over maltiness and just kind of a weird taste that just makes you know that it's alcohol-free. It's like all alcohol-free lagers seem to have that kind of taste. And a lot of the alcohol-free pales do as well, unless it's a juicy pale and has the juiciness to offset that. A lot of the alcohol-free beers I find have this kind of weird smell, weird taste. I just describe it as an overly malty kind of taste, almost to compensate for the fact there's not a lot of flavour in the beer. This doesn't have that. Might be because there's not a lot of flavour in the beer anyway, and they're not bothered about that. But we'll see. But I'm getting lemon. I'm getting grassy, getting a little bit metallic, a little bit of malt. It doesn't smell particularly unpleasant, so let's give it a go. Cheers. So, first of all, on first taste, not massively flavourful, but at the end of the day there is flavour there. There's more flavour than the salt. You are getting quite a mild beer-like flavour. Quite mild, that's a glowing compliment, that. A mild beer-like flavour. But it doesn't taste like an alcohol-free beer to me. Some may disagree with me on this, but I am a bit surprised. I don't know whether just things are getting better, but this to me doesn't... Oh, everywhere. This to me doesn't scream alcohol-free. And nor does it scream taste-free either, because alcohol-free Budweiser is taste-free, let's face it. But this is not taste-free. It has got a relatively pleasant lager taste to it. And to be honest, I could possibly be fooled into thinking this is a beer with alcohol in it, to be honest, which is weird because there's not many alcohol-free beers that I could say that about, to be honest, where I could actually be fooled into thinking they're the real deal. This one, to be honest, it doesn't seem to have any of those kind of flavours that I associate with an alcohol-free beer. It's a little bit there, but to be honest, it's refreshing. It's cold, obviously. It's a little bit carbonated. I say I'd rather drink that than real Carlsberg all day long. I really would. If there's a choice between this and like the proper Carlsberg, that this all the way. But yeah, I mean it's not great, let's face it, but to me it doesn't taste like an alcohol-free beer. So if you want an alcohol-free beer that just tastes like a normal kind of pedestrian lager, then I don't think you'll go too far wrong with this one, really. It's okay. It's got quite a nice, smooth, biscuity aftertaste, which I was surprised. I'm surprised that it's got that, to be honest. I'm more pleased with this than I thought I would be, to be honest. I really am. Yeah, it just smells like a lager. It smells like a lager. It tastes like a lager. There's not a lot of flavour, but it is Carlsberg. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot of there's no unpleasantness about the flavour. I don't think that's particularly unpleasant. It just basically tastes like a lager, and it's 0.0%. So I'd say if you just want a lager with no alcohol, then certainly for this price, I mean, it's not normally this. I don't know what normally it is. It's probably about, we'll review it about £1 a bottle, but you know, maybe a bit less than that. Probably a bit less than £1 a bottle normally, maybe about 90p a bottle. And to be honest, let's get a bit more in there. There we go. To be honest, I think because it's not overwhelmed with flavour, it's not overwhelmed with those kind of like weird sort of multi-alcohol-free flavours that I get with some of the stronger alcohol-free lagers. So personally, I think they've done quite a good job on that, to be honest. I really do. So might as well give it a rating. I don't know how we rate these compared to, you know, the ones with the alcohol in them. But again, it's got a weak flavour. It's nowhere near as weak as Sol. It's not up there. It's D/C. I'm going to be generous with this one because I am pleasantly surprised. So for this one, I'm going to give it a C- for quality. It's I think it does a good job as an alcohol-free beer. I've got to be honest. You know, but judging it as a beer, which is basically how I'm judging all these things because it is a beer. Let's face it. Yeah, I'm going to give it a C- for quality. And what about value? Well, value at that kind of price. Yeah, I think for that kind of price, I would probably give this one a C+ for value. You know, it's not knocking my socks off, but I just think it's just a standard lager. I say I really don't like Carlsberg, the normal stuff, but this is smoother. It's got a nicer aftertaste. It's got none of the kind of horrible kind of, I don't know, overly like bitter bits and stuff that you get from Carlsberg when you get any flavour from it, which you don't really. And yeah, I prefer this to the normal Carlsberg. It's not amazing, but there you go. There you have it. Okay, so until next time, have a good one.